everybody, it's Teresa. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to make a necklace today. It's going to be a 2-strand necklace, and I'm using some of the contents from the GGC treasure bag called Midnight Blue. Y'all know how much I love that bag. When I did the unbagging, I was just carried away with all these pretty beads, and I didn't want to cut them off the strand. I just wanted to hang them up and look at them forever, but I finally decided I was going to have to make something with them. These are the 6x6 millimeter opaque blue half black plated rondelle beads. These are the 3 millimeter round silver plated synthetic hematite beads. These are the 8 millimeter round electroplated crackle pattern glass beads. These are the silvery 14 by 8 millimeter silvery twisted teardrop electroplated glass beads. This is the 60 millimeter long and 13 millimeter thick simulated turquoise point pendant, and I've got a little ring in there I'm going to attach it to, in a jump ring. I've got some findings here. I've got a lobster clasp. I would have used one of the toggles that came in the bag, but I just always like to use a lobster on necklaces so I can do an extender chain. I've got an extender chain in there and some little pieces of the chain that came in the box. There was so much chain, and I just love that. And an extender chain, some jump rings. In here I've got 4 wire guardians and 4 2x2 crimp tubes. I use the Beadalon crimp tubes. This little bottle looks awful because I've had it forever. But this is in the gunmetal color. I've got I'm going to finish off the back of it with some of the chain. I don't know how much I'm going to need of that. I've got a bunch of little eye pins here that I'm going to need. I don't know how many I'm going to need. I've got my bead stoppers. I've got my 21 strand soft flex beading wire in fine. I've got my beading awl. I always have it handy. I've got my little trusty shot glass from New Orleans that I put the little pieces of wire that I cut off in. I'm pretty much using all my tools. I've got my tweezer pliers, my chain nose pliers. Tweezer pliers are Xuron. I've got my crimping pliers. They're Beadalon. I've got both pairs of my cutters. They're both Xuron. I use one pair just for bead stringing wire, and the other pair I use for heavier wire, like head pins, eye pins, craft wire, that kind of thing. I've got both of my pairs of my bent nose pliers. These are BB Craft and these are Xuron. And I've got my round nose pliers. I'm going to try to make a little pair of earrings at the end to go with it, so that's the only time I'll be using these. So I think that's everything. I'll get some of this out of the way and I'll be back. Okay, I'm going to start out with just some really simple stringing here. This is going to be half of the first strand of my necklace. I'm going to take one of these little 3 millimeter beads. I'm going to put my bead stopper on my wire here. I work off the spool if I can, because it seems like it saves more wire that way, but I still put a bead stopper on here because if I don't, the wire sometimes gets away from me. So I'm gonna take a little 3 millimeter bead. I'm gonna use these for spacers, and then I'm gonna do a crackle pattern bead and a spacer, and another crackle pattern bead and a spacer, and then one of these silvery twisted beads and a spacer. And then I'm going to do 3 of the pattern crackle beads with a spacer in between. I saw Gina's already got some tutorials on her page using these beads. Her tutorials are always awesome. I'm going to use another spacer bead. And then another one of these twist beads. And the spacer bead. And then 2 more of the crackle pattern beads with a spacer bead in between. Now I'm gonna better put this bead stopper on or I'll lose everything. Move this one down a little bit. I'm gonna crimp. I'm gonna take my crimp tube and thread it on my wire. And then let's see. I'll take my wire guardian and thread it on. And I'm going to take my wire and come back down the other channel of the wire guardian. And back through the crimp tube. Keep my wires separated. Take my tweezer pliers and I'm going to squish in my little wire guardian just a little bit, being real careful because they're real delicate. Take my crimping pliers and I'm going to go into the second part there that has the little notch on this side and the little divot on this side. And I'm going to put my crimp tube in there. Make sure there's no wire coming out the top here. And then I'm going to squeeze. I'm going to turn it 90 degrees, and that puts your wires each in their own separate little channel. And I'm going to go to the top part of my crimping pliers, and I'm going to put it in there. And I'm going to squeeze and fold my crimp. And I'm going to tug, make sure it's good, and it is. Now I'm going to cut off this little extra wire here. Now I'm going to come down to this side. And I'm going to cut it off my spool. And I'm going to put my crimp tube on. My wire guardian. If I can get it in there, there we go. I'm going to come down the other, take my bead stringing wire and come down the other side of the channel of the wire guardian. Go back through the crimp tube. And on this side I usually go through a bead or two if I can, because it helps give me some leverage to pull on that wire and gets my hand out of the way. It's harder to crimp on this side because all the beads are in the way and everything, but if you go down through a couple beads, kind of get your hands out of the way. If I can get it through there, yeah, there we go. Because you're pulling down here and not right up there where the wire guardian and the crimp tube and everything is. Okay, now I'm going to crimp, and I'm going to try to, I don't want to leave any big gaps. Don't want to see any big gaps of wire in my little strand here. But I don't want to pull it too tight because I want it to drape well. So I'm going to, again, go into that second part of the crimping pliers. Put it in there. Squeeze. Turn it 90 degrees. Put it in the other notch, the top notch. Squeeze and fold the crimp. And then tug. That's good. Now I'm going to cut off the rest. Wire that's left. Okay. So that's what I've got now. I'm going to make another piece exactly like this, and then I'll be back. Okay, this is what I've got so far. I've got 2 identical pieces here. Now I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and my bent nose pliers, and I'm going to take an 8mm jump ring, and I'm going to open it up. I'm going to thread on this side of my beaded section. I'm going to thread on my pendant. Thread on this side of my beaded section. Close it up. Make sure it's closed up really well. Okay. Okay, now that's what I've got so far. And I've discovered that I told y'all I wasn't going to need my round nose pliers till the earrings, and I completely forgot I do need them. But first I'm going to take these. I've got a couple of little, these are about 2-inch sections of the chain that came in the bag. I'm going to take a 4mm jump ring. And I'm going to thread these little 2-inch pieces of chain up here. Attach them up here. On each side. Can get it on there. It'll go on there. I know. There it goes. Okay. Now, that's what I've got so far. Now I'm going to make a beaded chain with my little black and blue rondelles here. And they're going to go on the inside of the necklace here. So I'm going to take a eye pin, thread on my rondelle, take my pliers here, and I use my tweezer ones, but you could use just regular ones. Come just a little bit above the bead so I don't crack my bead. Make a 90-degree turn in the wire. And now I'm going to cut off probably about a 1/4 inch, maybe. I'm not sure exactly. I'm going to try to make the loop on this side approximately the same as the loop that came on the eye pin. I don't worry about it a lot. I don't stress about it a lot because it's fairly impossible to get them exactly the same, for me at least. And nobody's really, I'm going to go down here to this end of my plier because I'm going to make a smaller loop than I usually do. Nobody's really ever going to notice it once you get all get them all hooked together and you're wearing it. Nobody's going to notice that one loop on one side of your bead is not exactly the same size or the same roundness as the other loop. Just try to get it closed up really well. And see, that's not the same. But you know, I think that's part of the charm of handmade jewelry or anything handmade, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be something that's like something that's produced in a factory. But I mean, that's just the nature and I think the charm of anything handmade. And I'm just going to do that until I have the amount of chain that I need. I'm going to do one more here. Come just above the bead. Make a 90-degree turn in the chain. I mean in the eye pin. Cut off. And around those pliers. Bend back. That one's even less like the other side than the first one. And if you get it, if they turn out to be, they're not exactly, they're off a little, like maybe this one's turned this way and this one's turned opposite ways, just take both pairs of your pliers and just straighten them up like that. And then of course I'm gonna, and I always, when I put these chains together, I make sure at some point that to open and close the side of the loop that came on the eye pin, because they're not always closed up well. So I always double check them and just thread that on. Close it back up. And then I've got a little piece here that I already made, and it's gonna, my plan is that I'm gonna put a jump ring up here, connect the chain to it, and connect my beaded portion to it, and that's gonna be the middle, or the inside strand of my 2-strand necklace. I don't know how many it's going to take, because I don't know exactly where I want it to drape, you know, how long I want it to be. This little section I made of 5 of them is about 2 inches long. So it's probably going to take, I don't know, 30, 35, I'm not sure. But obviously I'm not going to sit here and make you watch me make 35 little links and put them all together. So I'll get that done, and I'll come back when I'm done. Okay, this is what I've got so far. I don't know what made me think it was going to take 30 something of these. I've got 12 on this side. I've got 11 on this side. I'm going to make the last one here. And I think I told you all when we started I was going to use this link here to put my pendant on, but I decided to just put it on a jump ring. This link doesn't open, and that would have made it a little bit longer than I wanted it to hang. So I'm going to do it just like I did before. Make my 90-degree turn, cut off, and I think I said before cut off 1/4 inch. Obviously I meant leave about 1/4 inch of wire. And then I'm gonna just turn a loop. These eye pins are really stiff. I had an emergency need for eye pins. I don't know why anybody thinks they have an emergency need for eye pins, but I did. And I got some at Walmart, and they are really stiff. My hands are hurting from making all these links. Okay, see, my loops are not turning the same way, so I'm going to turn them like that, so they're both facing the same way. Open this one, connect it to my chain here to make 12, It's a really good practice if you do this. It's a good way, really good way to practice your simple loops if you need to. Okay, now I'm going to take, I think that's the same, 3, 6, 9, 12, yeah. Now I'm going to take one of these twist beads. I've got a ball head pin here. I'm going to put it on the ball head pin, and I'm going to make a wrapped loop on top of this. This was kind of a last minute thing. I hadn't intended to hang anything from the center strand, but then I decided thought it needed it. I'll wrap my wire back till it hits the bead, turn my pliers till they're facing the table, wrap the wire back up against till it can't go any further, up against the tool, cock it back a little to center it over the bead, take both pairs of my bent nose pliers, hold my loop, and wrap it. Just keep wrapping until it fills up that space. Cut off my excess wire. Use my crimping pliers and tuck that little burr in. Now I'm going to take a 6mm jump ring, my chain nose pliers and my bent nose pliers. Find where it opens. There it is. I'm going to thread on this side of my chain. A little dangle I made here. This side of my chain. I'll close it up. Okay. That's going to be my inside strand. So now I'm going to take, where did my little 4mm jump rings go? I have lost them. Hold on, let me find them. Well, I didn't need to find them. I got lost. I need my 6mm jump rings here, not my 4mm ones. I thought I had enough laid out to get all this done. Okay, I'm going to take my 6mm jump ring here. I'm going to thread on my chain, thread on this part of my inner strand, inside strand, close it up really well. Okay, now I'm going to take another 6mm jump ring, thread on my inside chain, my inside strand, then thread on this side of my outside strand. Okay. So this is what I've got so far. Okay, now I'm going to decide how much chain I want to finish it off over here on each side. I don't want it to hang real low. I don't want it to be real long because the pendant is fairly long. I've got about 7.5 inches on each side, so that's 15. The pendant is about 2 inches, so that's 17. probably put about 3 or 4 inches of chain on each side over here. So I'm going to cut that and I'll be back. Okay, I've got a couple of pieces of chain cut here. These are about 2 inches. So I'm going to take my jump ring here that I've already got everything connected to and open it back up. Find where the split is. I think it's back over here. Right there, I think it is. Yeah. I'll thread on my chain. Close it up. Now I'm going to take this one, do the same thing. Okay, now I'm going to add my lobster and my extender chain and we'll be done. I'll take another 6mm jump ring. Thread on this end of my chain. Thread on my lobster. Take this side, I've got an 8mm jump ring I'm going to use for my lobster to clasp onto. Thread it on here. Thread on my extender chain. That's about 3 inches of extender chain. It was one I bought already made. It's already got a little dangly thing on the end of it there. And that is my necklace all done. And get it laid out here. Looking better. Okay, now I'm going to get some stuff together and make a quick little pair of earrings and I'll be back. Okay, now I'm going to take a ball head pin. Just dump everything out there. I'm going to put my twist bead on here. I'm going to come to the end of the pliers. Bend over the tip of the plier. Put my round nose pliers in. Bend my wire back. Round nose pliers facing me till the wire hits the bead. Rotate the pliers till they're facing the table. Pull the wire back until it hits the tool. Can't go any further. Cock it back a little to center it over the bead. Hold my loop. Hold it really tight. Take my other pair of bent nose pliers. Wrap. I'll fill up that space. Cut off my excess wire. Tuck in my little burr. Now I'm going to take an eye pin, put on one of these little spacer beads and one of my black and blue beads, another little spacer bead, I'm going to make a simple loop here. Bend 90 degrees. Cut and leave about a 1/4 an inch or so. Come around those pliers. Roll back my loop. Make sure it's closed up really well. Okay, now I'm gonna open this loop. Probably should have done this first, it would have been easier. Thread on my little dangle. Now I got these pretty lever-back ear wires that I got in my Beadbox Bargains haul that I shared with the little shell on them. Really like those. I'm going to take my top loop of my little link here and open it up. Thread on my ear wire. Close it back. Got a little earring. It goes that way. Now I'm going to make the other earring off camera and I'll be back. Okay, that's my 2-strand necklace and matching pair of earrings that I made from the GGC Treasures Midnight Blue treasure bag that I got. I'll get a better picture and put it at the end of the video. I really appreciate you all joining me today. I appreciate all of you who have subscribed to my channel and watched the videos I've made. I love getting your comments, reading your comments. I have a website where I sell my jewelry. It's Teresa's Handmade Jewelry, and I'll put a link to it in the description box below in case you're interested, along with a link to my Facebook and Instagram and my email. If you haven't, I'd really love it if you'd subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified when I upload a new video. So until next time, I hope you all have a great day. Take care.
Thank you.